welcome to Follow the Money. I'm Eric Bowling. The new year will be bringing higher prices. The former head of Shell Oil predicts $5 a gallon for gasoline by 2012, and it may not stop there. Long-term President Obama's fight against so-called global warming will push gas prices through the roof. Beware. $10 a gallon is on its way. Inflation, it's already an issue in China, where prices are up more than 5% this year. In India, looking at a rise of 5.5%. But our Federal Reserve ignores inflation. Gold investors, don't ignore inflation. Keep your eye on gold. It's going to have a huge year in 2011. Starting today, look at the price in gold move higher already. Meanwhile, the Case-Shiller Home Price Index out today shows another drop of 0.8%. That curve is headed in the wrong direction for homeowners. Prices down as foreclosures rise, not what we need for a sustained recovery. Joining me now on my all-star panel. On the left, Fox News analyst and Fox radio host Alan Combs. On the right, radio host Curtis Sliwa and Peter Schiff, president of Euro-Pacific Capital. Peter, I'm going to jump right in with you, my friend. Am I wrong about any of that stuff?
No. I mean, first of all, we're exporting our inflation to China, to India, but it's going to come back to bite us. And the cause of the inflation is the U.S. Congress that's running huge deficits and our Federal Reserve through quantitative easing that's printing the money to buy the debt. That is what's diminishing the value of our money, and that is why prices are rising.
Touch on that a little bit more, Peter. How arrogant, how ridiculous is that they put out this consumer price index and they eliminate. They say, oh, by the way, let's not take a look at oil, let's not look at gasoline, and definitely not look at food, because those are the things that really move up. Let's look at everything else.
Yeah, well, they claim that they want to look at the core. But as far as I'm concerned, the core is food and energy, because that's what.
Yeah, why are food and energy excluded?
Well, here's
from
what
the core?
happened. I think way back, maybe under Nixon, they first started doing it. But the whole idea was that food and energy are supposedly very volatile. Some months they can be way up, some months they can be way down. So they wanted to strip out food and energy from the monthly numbers. But now we talk about year-over-year core. That's a meaningless number. Right. And of course, not only does the government, when they talk about core, but the whole CPI is a fraud, because they use hedonics, they use substitution, they use geometric pricing. They reverse engineer the entire index to create the illusion that prices aren't rising, even though they are.
What do you think here, Curtis? The one thing that's held consumer prices down has been housing. Housing's been on its ear. We had the Case-Shiller price index come out today saying housing's on the wrong trajectory, back down again.
Right, but if you look at the oil prices, look at the ships coming in. The bellies are full of oil. There's nowhere to store it. The tanks are full. So this isn't a question of supply and demand. It's a question of speculators all of a sudden investing mucho dineros in oil and causing the price to skyrocket. And even though the value of the dollar has gone down, this is gouging of the worst
I'm looking at a speculator right next to you who wants to jump in. Hold on, Peter. Hold the thought. Meanwhile, stimulus, quantitative easing, the Obama administration and its Fed just pumping money into the system, making prices go higher.
You got to do that. You got to put money into the system. This is a second stimulus package we just agreed to with the Republican Congress, incoming Republican Congress. They don't seem to care about deficits, or they wouldn't keep these tax cuts. In terms of what Curtis just said, he's right, which only goes to show that oil, the manipulation of prices, is not about whether we drill more. Drilling more is not going to bring down the price of oil. We know that there's a manipulation of price.
Hang in there. Let's go right to the source. Joining me now is our own Sandra Smith from the CME in Chicago. Smitty, go ahead. You're listening to the discussion. You know it. I know it. Drill more, put more oil on the market. The price has to go down. Where am I wrong, Smitty?
Come on, you guys. This conversation about speculators driving up the price of oil, it's killing me. I mean, what happens when the price goes down? Nobody says, oh, the speculators are driving the price of oil down. Come on, guys. This is a supply and demand problem. We only have so much of these goods. Put it in terms of anything else. Put it in terms of cereal boxes at the grocery. If you only have that much cereal, then the prices are going to go up. That's what's happening with crude oil prices, sitting above $90 a barrel. We only have so much of these products, and when you've got a weak dollar making it
right, Smitty, you're hitting on it. We have a weak dollar. It's driving things up. Take a look at the gold price, off to the races today. You hit on the other one: food, oil. Only the things that we really kind of need going up, but it's the dollar, granted, but also cheap money floating around the U.S., right?
Yeah, you could definitely say that, but there are many people who are looking at the picture for not just energy, but for metals, for grains. They're looking at the bigger picture now, Eric, and they're saying, hey, these commodities are starting to behave like commodities again. It all comes down to supply and demand. We're still the biggest consumer of oil in the world. We're using more of it every day. The former Shell executive is calling for $5 gasoline. That's because we're going to continue to use more of it, Eric, as the economy improves.
Smitty,
people have short
hang
memories.
There. I want to bring into the panel, also joining the panel by satellite radio host Leslie Marshall. Leslie, hang in there. Peter, go ahead. You've been waiting to jump in here.
Well, first of all, the demand is coming from the inflation. It's coming from all the money that's being created around the world that is being used to bid these prices higher. That's real. That has nothing to do with speculators. And you're talking, Alan, about tax cuts. What good is a tax cut if you have to spend more money for everything that you need to buy? If the government cuts taxes and creates inflation as a substitute, we're not better off. And, China does
not the answer to everything, as if Republicans want to believe. And by the way, in terms of supply and demand, yeah, she's right, except that if you're holding back the supply,
who's holding back the supply?
We have a recession in this country. A recession. We're using less oil products, less gasoline, less home heating fuel oil, less jet fuel. Look at the tank farms. You know when they're going down. You can tell that
the roofs.
They're all full. They're all filled to the brim.
Curtis is right. The roofs, they float. They're floating tops.
There's ships that are out in the Bay of New York there that have nowhere to go.
We're going to use a lot less oil in the future and pay a lot more for it, because the people in China, they're going to start consuming a lot more oil. They're going to consume the oil that we used to consume that we can't afford.
All right, Leslie, you're listening to the conversation. Weigh in here. You're on the left. You tell us everything seems to be working. Is it working? We're paying more for stuff, yet 9.8% unemployment and home prices going down.
Well, when you look, again, supply and demand, basic economics, there is no shortage of oil throughout the world, guys. We all know this. And if that were the case, the Saudi royal family would be packing up their mansions and moving back to tents in the desert, and that's not happening. As far as the demand here in America, going forward, it is going to be reduced. More and more people are buying environmentally safe vehicles, and they're breaking away their dependence on oil.
What I think
honestly,
is, Leslie,
I think big oil is punishing us, Eric.
That's not
big
why
oil is punishing us, because I don't see the head of Shell Oil decreasing his salary.
That's not why there's a supply of oil that is where it is right now, because of the 30 Chevy Volts they sold last week. That has nothing to do with it. Sandra, go ahead. When the economy starts to turn around, if the economy starts to turn around, my guess is that all those floating tanks that are full right now will start to get a lot emptier quickly.
Eric, consumers have very short memories. If you look back 2 years ago, December 2008, we were paying 76% less for a gallon of gasoline. We're now willing to pay 76 more today for a gallon of gasoline. We're barely out of the recession, and more people are driving. If they're willing to pay it, that's when prices go higher.
That's right. Go ahead, Alan. She's saying 76%. In a year, President Obama has driven up the price of gasoline by more than $1.30 a gallon.
Eric, you got to stop blaming.
$1.65 when he took office.
Can I finish the sentence?
Go ahead.
You got to stop blaming President Obama for everything. Like he's responsible solely for the price of oil? You got to be kidding me.
Well, it's the deficit. He's also got Congress working with him. It's because of all the deficits. It's because of the stimulus.
The Saudi royal family has nothing to do with it, right?
They have nothing to do with it. Look, if you look at the price,
let's blame the Democrat in the White House.
Look at the
forget everything.
Look at the price of oil in terms of gold. Oil prices are not rising. If we're going to diminish the value of our currency, if we're going to print currency and debase it and give it to the Saudis, they have to raise their prices just to stay even. We're trying to screw them.
I'm amazed at the number of refineries that suddenly are on a maintenance schedule. All of a sudden, they're not processing petroleum. I know, but normally they're in balance. But all of a sudden, it's an excessive number of refineries that are all of a sudden under a year-long maintenance, which is what they have to go through. But all of a sudden, at the same time, I wonder. Look, speculators are there to make money.
Wait a second.
Go ahead, Smitty. Last word.
Come on, refineries are in it to make a profit. If oil prices are too high and they're not making a profit because oil's at $100 a barrel, they're going to stop producing it.
Okay.
Come on, they're not working for you, they're working for themselves.
That's right. All right. Smitty, we're going to have to leave it there.
Of course, that's how they get a profit.
We're going to leave it there, Sandra. Drill, baby, drill. Oil equals jobs. We need plenty of both. Let's throw it to the panel. I'm going to throw it right out to Leslie. I shortchanged you in the beginning of the segment, Leslie, but you heard the senator. We need the jobs. Lift the moratorium.
Well, first of all, I lived in the state of Texas, and since the 80s in the bust there, Eric, in Texas, they've been sending jobs overseas. So it's lovely to mention it and spotlight it now. And you know that's not just solely in the oil industry. Regarding lifting a moratorium of any kind and saying that it's an excuse, the BP oil spill, with all respect to the senator, obviously she's not looking at the huge ramifications of that spill.
Yeah, but
we're not just
Leslie,
talking about the lives lost in the environment and the pollution and toxicity to the food supply.
Are you disputing that more oil production would mean more jobs for Americans?
Oh, I'm not disputing that, Eric. What I'm saying is, what price jobs? We need to create jobs, but at what price? At the price of safety of the
I'm
workers?
glad you said
at the price
Leslie.
of safety of the environment?
Here's the price. Peter, drill more oil, create a job. What happens to the price of gas and oil?
Well, it'll be lower than it might otherwise have been, but prices
will go down.
First of all, Eric, you know, the reason that oil prices dropped from $150 a barrel to $30 wasn't because we lifted that moratorium. We had a global financial crisis in 2008. The price of all commodities
This was 07, though. This was before.
But you mentioned
the price dropped in July of 2007, Peter.
Right, but it didn't go all the way down to 30.
It did.
That was because
January of 2008, it went to $33 a barrel. 6 months.
No, that was at the bottom of the global financial crisis when all the commodities were collapsing. But, you know, yes, I was warning back then when they had the moratorium that this was going to be a big problem because it was going to help push oil prices even higher. Not only did it cost us jobs, but it makes us more dependent on foreign oil. It runs up our trade deficit. It increases our global economic imbalances. It puts more downward pressure on the dollar, which means more upward pressure on consumer prices, not just oil.
Don't drill. Just let's just sit down. Let's just pay the Saudi royal family hundreds of billions of dollars instead.
You're looking at it too simplistically. You're presuming the minute we say drill, oil prices go down. When you know
it happened. It was the same week.
When you know as well as anybody that oil prices are not simply reactive to one particular issue, like we drill, prices go down.
You know that they are.
You know that it's a global issue, and the prices are controlled globally by the Saudis and by those with whom we have to do business. You know better than that.
Everything is based on fear, fright, hysteria, and hype. And we were upset that guys like Alan would have to go to Long John Silver's on Friday, and their jumbo shrimps were from Bangladesh. We have to have all American jumbo shrimp. So you finally got it, and you eliminated all offshore deep-sea platform drilling in order to get your jumbo shrimp from your Chinese buffet.
The amount of money it costs this country to have a BP oil spill and the ramifications of that and the lack of control and lack of regulation that leads to that kind of a terrible tragedy. That's been ignored in all of this.
We send in excess.
BP was there because the government subsidized it.
That's
why they were there.
It's happened because of lack of regulation.
No, because it was an abundance of regulation. It was regulation.
We send somewhere around $600 billion, $700 billion overseas to Saudis and all the other producing OPEC countries. Wouldn't it make more sense to keep that money here and produce a job here, Leslie?
Well, of course, but we're talking about something temporary. Guys, if we're really going to say, look, we need to create jobs and we need money right away from the oil industry, well, heck, why have regulations at all? Who cares if a few people die? It's budgeted.
No, I didn't say no regulation. I said let them drill here. Create more jobs, bring oil out of the ground, make the price of gasoline go down. Win-win-win.
The one thing the senator did not tell us, as we know, is that there are permits being given out of Washington. They're just not being given in the volume and the time frame that Senator Hutchinson and others on the right would like, because they have a lot of oil money in their pockets to please, quite frankly.
Time frame. Anytime like the president, we're at $3.04 a gallon. I say drill and let the price go down.
Her friend Hugo Chavez, right? It's like a platform every 5 feet off of the coast of Venezuela. Citgo oil. I'll never fill up with Citgo. And Lukoil, that Russian Putin, all the money goes to him. So where am I going to end up filling up for gas? Boy, it eliminates my possibilities, doesn't it? Exxon, right? Mobil,
Americans, yeah, that's right. It's so far they do produce in other countries. I want to talk about waste. How about this? NASA is being forced, they say, to spend $500 million on a canceled spaceship. The defunct rocket project is costing $95 million a month, all because some rocket scientist lawmakers promised they'd pay even if the project got the boot. Unbelievable, but Curtis, you see it time and again. They sign on the dotted line. The Democrats will tell you a deal's a deal.
Oh, no question. And it's another form of an earmark because naturally they got to keep the sugar, the addiction going to their local constituency. you know, they're probably going to make the argument. You see, India, it sent up 2 satellites that exploded before it made it into space. That's why we have to do it in the good old US of A. Yeah, outsource it to the private sector, and that means no more government involvement, no more government spending, but the private sector invest.
NASA should not be a government agency? So we should do private space exploration?
The president said no more exploration of the moon, and yet they're still developing projects that are meant to take people to the moon.
Actually, Holmes, I do think we should. I think guys like Branson should be at the cutting edge of
get the government out of space.
Hold on, Peter, hang in there. I want to get to you in a second. You did run for Senate. I want to ask you what goes on there. But go ahead, Leslie. What about it? $500 million we got to spend because they've made the promise.
Well, first of all, I don't think that we should be funding any program that's defunct or isn't going to benefit. But this isn't just a Democratic deal, Curtis, and you know this. Republicans benefit in their own state for monies that go to their state, just as Democrats do. NASA, Ellen, I love you. You're so funny. Yeah, let's make everything in the private sector or unions involved. We can't blame Obama. Let's blame the union. When it comes to NASA, guys, are we forgetting that this is beyond just space? Are we forgetting we're in a war on terror and what satellite technology can do and the scientists at NASA can do for us and even help to do after the
Leslie, I'm going to throw it to Peter. This project has already been canceled, and we're still paying $95 million.
I agree with you there that we should not. I said we should not fund a defunct project. A canceled project should not be funded,
so what do we do, Leslie?
regardless if it was a Democrat or Republican proposal.
So, Leslie, should we break the contract?
The contract should never been made in the first place.
The program has ended.
It's not ended, Leslie. The program is ongoing, but they canceled the project.
The contract is null and void. If I die, my contract doesn't exist.
Break the contract. Break the unions and break the NASA contract.
You don't break the contract. You don't make the deal in the first place.
This is typical government. I mean, government is inefficient. But look, we are broke. This country is completely broke.
Get out of wars. Get out of these foreign wars. Stop fighting in Afghanistan.
Let me finish. We have no money to explore space. Right? We can't be there.
Get out of foreign wars.
But we can't do it. End it. Stop funding NASA. If the private market sees a profit in space, let them go there. But we can't afford to play Buck Rogers right now.
You know what?
We are broke. We can't borrow money from China to send rockets into space.
Alan, we get you.
How would I ever have had my glass of Tang in the morning if not for the space program and NASA? That's how they sold it to us, right? Tang came out of that. What can I do without Tang?
We are getting out of wars. We're getting out. We just heard the last day of Iraq was planned.
In Afghanistan, we've got 2 permanent bases in Iraq.
I agree with you. We got to stop spending on wars, but we also have to stop spending on Social Security and Medicare.
No, that's nothing compared to the war.
It's not nothing.
You want to hurt
You're telling me Social Security and Medicare are nothing?
You guys on the right, you want to hurt workers.
No, I don't want to hurt them.
No, you want to go after unions. You want to keep.
It's your do-good liberal policies that are hurting workers. I want to liberate them. I want them free. You want to enslave them with government.
Let me finish the sentence. You guys can't. You just want to go after the worker.
No.
You want to go after the person getting Social Security. You want to go after the person getting Medicare.
Now, you're thinking with your heart and not your head. You don't understand the consequences of these government policies. People are hungry and impoverished because of the left. Because of those programs.
You're not going to shout me down, Schiff. You know, you can't. You don't understand a budget, obviously.
Yes,
if you just want to throw money at the military,
I don't.
Keep these wars
I want to
down.
cut military spending.
Alan, he agrees.
I want to cut military spending.
No, but you want to agree with me. But you want to hurt poor people.
No,
you want to go after Social Security.
You're fighting in the hallway after the show. Go ahead, Curtis.
They're hurting the poor people. That's
engineers, white-collar workers, scientists. There are no poor and impoverished people involved in NASA.
Poor people.
We're going to have to leave it there. So the Eagles-Vikings game, or Vikings-Eagles game, as it should be said, was put on ice this weekend literally because of a little snow. Okay, so it's 20 inches, but who cares? Football. It's supposed to be played in the snow, slipping, sliding, an occasional long pass down the field. You go, did he catch that? I can't even see it. Man up, NFL. You're the toughest sport in the world. And you self-proclaimed badass Philly fans, where's your pride? Listen to your governor.
What do you think that the great Vince Lombardi would have thought about that decision?
He would be, I don't know where Vince is buried, but I know that coffin is spinning because he's turning over in his grave. He is watching the wussification of the United States of America.
That's right, Curtis, the wussification of America. What do you think? Can you imagine they canceled the game for snow?
Now, normally I'd be side by side with Rendell, macho, smash mouth football, right? But
Curtis, you're a football fan. Don't let me down.
This
Don't
is
let me down.
Philadelphia.
Snowball.
This is Philadelphia. These are the fans, the Philly fans. You have to taser them on the field. You imagine all these Eagle fans making snowballs, killing the Vikings before they even have a
TV,
chance?
Curtis. That's a
I
great game to
understand that.
watch.
But maybe Nutter, the mayor, isn't so nutty after all. He knows his people.
Nutter is a Democrat, Alan. Why do the Democrats hate football?
Rendell, you know what it is? You guys are wusses. Stop living your life vicariously through a sports team. Get a life. Who cares? It's only a game. So the game, they can't play football. Oh, my life is over. I can't watch the game. Read a book.
All right, I'll try my other
Do something
Democrat.
with your
Leslie,
life.
what about it? Why do the Democrats hate football, canceling football?
Oh, come on. This is not political. This is about men paid a lot of money who need to go out and do their job, just like the postal workers, regardless of the weather. I love the word wussification, even though it isn't a word, because that's what it is here, guys. But, you know, then again, asking me about football is like me asking Eric about Prada handbags. So all I can say is living in a state where people are afraid to drive in the rain. I used to live in Buffalo, New York, and I froze my butt off watching a game that they played, and they played to win.
Thank you, Leslie.
And that's what these two teams should have done,
Bowl.
okay?
Hold on, Peter. Let me get you in here. The ice bowls, the snowballs, the fog bowl in Chicago, where the announcers couldn't even see who was throwing the ball or running the ball.
It would have been a fun game to watch from my house in a night, by a fire. But, I thought that they were worried about the traffic conditions. It was not the game, but the traffic.
Now?
Well, it was a blizzard. It wasn't.
How long's the NFL
It wasn't
been
just
around,
a little
Curtis?
snow.
But it is political. It is political. Put the snow aside for a second. The president, right, chilling and illing on the beach there in Kauai, picks up the phone and gives props to the Philadelphia Eagles owner for bringing on the dog killer, Michael Vick. The one call the president makes on his vacation.
Where's Chris Christie during the snowstorm?
Oh, that's right. Disney World.
Where is he? Where did he go? Huh?
He's in Florida.
You're a governor. Where did he go?
He's in Florida.
Wait, he's having his Dairy Queen blizzard, right? He's having his Dairy Queen blizzard.
Obama took a vacation. Every time he takes a vacation, it's a big national crisis.
Hold on, Leslie.
Too bad. He needs to take a vacation 365 days a year.
You didn't listen. Curtis didn't get. He wasn't upset with him being in Hawaii. He was upset with him giving a pass to Michael Vick, the dog killer.
That's right. He was giving him props. He was saying MVP Vick.
You got one. You got a TV show.
I did get a TV show. Go ahead, Leslie. Sorry, I cut you off.
Do this.
Okay, I'm sorry. I love animals more than people, and they don't talk back for one, and they love you unconditionally. But I understand forgiving, and I understand giving people that have been through the prison system a chance, and people a second chance. But I got to say, I really cringed when I read that the president called the Eagles owner and congratulated them for giving Michael Vick a second chance. Well, we just see, Alan, we got to disagree at least once on the show.
Well, yeah.
I don't agree with this because just because he's doing some PSAs for the Humane Society, to make himself look good, what he did and how he profited was absolutely disgusting. And as a liberal, come on, Alan,
he's probably
you got to stick up for the dog.
And Leslie, Vick has been begging, please let me have a dog. Please, I'm the MVP of the NFL. Let me have a dog. This is crazy. This is nuts. They're going to let him have a dog.
People can't change.
What is that? Why doesn't the president get, what is that Portuguese water dog they have in the White House? Why did he donate his dog to Michael Vick, the dog killer?
Jump in here, Peter. Help bring some sanity back.
What does this have to do with the fact that they canceled that football game?
Oh, it has nothing to do with it. We got off on a tangent, but that's what we do.
That's what we do.
Look, I try to say, I don't mind that Obama takes a vacation. I mind when he comes back from vacation and goes to Washington. So if we
you
keep
asked the governor
all year, we'd be
Ed
better off.
Rendell was in Franklin Field as a young whippersnapper throwing snowballs at Santa Claus. He was part of the Philadelphia Eagle fans.
I mean, we watch Smash Mouth football. Forget this. I grew up in Chicago. I remember going to the bathroom and the toilets were frozen. It didn't matter how cold it was, if it's snowing a little bit. We were still going to see a football game.
And
once again, Alan, you say, don't pick on the Democrats.
Oh, I might
Mayor
miss
Nutter,
the game.
Mayor Nutter called the game. He's a Democrat. We're going to say thank you to Leslie Marshall.
We're going to have a
probably
game
in
to
some
watch.
warm place in L.A. somewhere. Leslie, thanks for joining us again. Alan Combs,
Thank you.
Curtis Lewa, Peter Schiff. Great times, you guys. See you tomorrow.